Hi, and welcome to our look at Arundells in Salisbury, home of the late British Prime Minister Sir Edward Heath. Arundells can be found in Cathedral Close, Salisbury, in the south of England. We have a complete video of our visit to Salisbury, taking in more of the beautiful sights of the historic city, and we'll pop that up at the very end. As you can see, we're close to Salisbury Cathedral, and yes, we have a video on that too. Now let's take a look at Arundells. Although our focus will be on Sir Edward Heath's life here, the story starts in the 13th century when this was a medieval canonry, a home for members of the clergy. From the 16th century it was leased to various tenants, included Richard Montperson from 1609, who had it largely rebuilt in the style of the day. This is not the same person who had Montperson House built on the north of Cathedral Close. As you step into Arundells, you will see it as Ted Heath wanted you to see it, and his cabinet room. Here he displayed his passion for sailing. As a boy born in Broadstairs on the Kent coast and educated a little further along at Ramsgate, that's no surprise. He was an accomplished yachtsman, even captaining Britain's winning team for the Admiral's Cup in 1971, whilst Prime Minister. He was also a classical musician and installed a Steinway piano at number 10 Downing Street, but in addition an orchestral conductor conducting the London Symphony Orchestra, the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic and a few others. It was his interest and skill in music that earned him a scholarship to Balliol College, Oxford. Then we touch on his position as a statesman and lifelong friend of Winston Churchill. Ted Heath's final public engagement was to unveil a set of gates at St Paul's Cathedral dedicated to Churchill. You'll also find some original artworks by Winston Churchill on the walls. Anyone spot this? You haven't seen our video on Winston Churchill's charter, have you? I'll pop that up at the end. My interest in Ted Heath comes from the fact he became an MP for Bexley in Kent in 1950, and I was born in his constituency in 1967. Although it had now become the London Borough of Bexley. He became Prime Minister in 1970 and lost the general election in 1974. The seat of Bexley was also abolished in 1974, and Ted Heath then sat as an MP for Old Bexley and Sidcup until his retirement from Parliament at the 2001 general election. He served 50 years as an MP, but was never elevated to the House of Lords. It may be because, despite champion Margaret Roberts for the neighbouring seat of Dartford in her early career, she defeated him as leader of the Conservative Party in 1975. Now having become Margaret Thatcher, she took the Tories in a direction he disagreed with. In fact, he was a keen supporter of China and Europe, and downplayed our special relationship with the USA. And as you tour Arundells, there is clear evidence of that. So although the house is at its heart over 700 years old, what you see is predominantly Ted Heath's home. In fact, the house was almost demolished after the Second World War, where it had been used as a book and wood store by the Red Cross. It was Mr. and Mrs. Roberts Hawkins who bought it in 1964 and renovated it, before it was sold to Ted Heath in 1985. He then arranged for an interior designer to modernise the home while paying respect to the original layout. So the display cabinets are as Ted Heath had them installed. Arundells is open from late March until early November, and I'll pop a link in the description to the site where you can find the exact opening times, prices, discounts, tours and more. We'll take a look around the garden a little later, and that's worth waiting for. Next it's the study, and something that caught my eye, his Charlemagne Prize, awarded to him in 1963 for his contributions in trying to get the UK into the EU. It's awarded at a ceremony in the Rathaus or Town Hall of Aachen in Germany, one of those places we've visited on our travels. It's interesting to note that he's the last Conservative leader to be awarded the prize. Now it's his bedroom, and a very plain affair. Ted Heath was a lifelong bachelor, and this room looks like it. I'm sure it's been embellished with features by the team that now looks after the house. I'm not sure in his day he would have photographs of other world leaders he met gracing the walls, but who knows. Our final room is one that I'm sure he didn't have in his day, as it details his military record during the Second World War. Heath was with Winston Churchill in his opposition to appeasement of Adolf Hitler and his Nazi regime, something he made very clear at university. He attended a Nuremberg rally in 1937 and met with the Nazi leadership, including Goering, Goebbels and Himmler, at an SS cocktail party, and understood the pure evil of the regime. He served with the Royal Artillery in the Second World War and had a distinguished career serving his country. And now something more relaxing, the garden at Arundells. It's now that time I ask, if you're enjoying the video, we'd appreciate a like. And if you enjoy my style of video, then why not subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future travels. So the gardens were redesigned in 1985 when Ted Heath purchased the house, and very little has changed over the years. I believe this was the first home Ted Heath owned, and it almost never happened. Being a keen sailor, he wanted to move to the Isle of Wight, home of the Cowes sailing regatta and steeped in yachting history. However, being an ex-Prime Minister, he had a lifelong security detail, and the security services felt they were unable to offer him adequate protection there. Then he found Arundells, and being under 25 miles from the Solent, ticked that sailing brief. Despite the overcast skies, and this was filmed on the 5th of July, oh the great British summer, the garden is a joy to explore, and it has one or two treats for you. This beautiful bronze figure of a girl holding a bowl by the sculptor George Edward Wade could be considered one. I have to be honest, I love the way there are little pockets in the garden to allow you to find your own peace and tranquility, each of them offering their own unique view, and it is worth wandering all the way to the end of the garden, because then you discover another of those treats, the confluence of the River Avon and the River Nadder. Salisbury sits on a very low plain. It still shocks me the depth of the foundations of Salisbury Cathedral. You can catch that video at the end. I could stand here and watch the water flow by for ages, in the hope of spotting a kingfisher. And then you spin round and catch that view of the cathedral and spire. I think that view may have cemented the purchase of Arundells by Ted Heath. As we make our way back to the house, there's one more thing I want to show you, a memorial of sorts. Ted Heath had his first yacht, Morning Cloud, built in 1969. This was followed by Morning Cloud 2 in 1971. Morning Cloud 3 was constructed in 73, however it was lost at sea on the 2nd of September 1974, and this is its bow. It was hit by a large wave en route to Cowes on the Isle of Wight. Ted Heath was not on board, but from the crew of 7, Nigel Cumming, a friend, and his godson Christopher Chard lost their lives. It's now time to return to the house, and for me to say thanks so much for watching. Don't forget that like, we'd appreciate it. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and happy travels.